and unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to, remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Um, it's so nice to be here. My name is Tom Tolan. I live in Milwaukee, and I'm here for about 6 weeks. And we just got finished with a week-long, well, 5.5-day-long sesshin. A sesshin is a meditation retreat. We meditated, I think it was about 8 times a day, and then I gave some talks. And actually, I brought some writings that I had made, short writings, and I presented them, and then we all discussed them as a group, and um, it was much easier for me that way. This is my first time leading a sesshin, so anyway, I'd like to dedicate this talk to my friend from Berkeley, Vicki Van Steenberg, who I am very regretful. I told her I was feeling very nervous about this talk, and I don't feel nervous now. But I told her, "Oh, don't come." I was too worried about it, and so I think she got all the way to pretty close down the mountain, and she turned around and went back to Berkeley. So anyway, I feel terrible about that. And then I'd like to, in retrospect, I'd like to dedicate this past sesshin to my friend Paul Gerda, who just got news about that his cancer had gotten worse, and he's now in a drug trial. I hope he wouldn't mind me sharing this, but I told him I would dedicate this sesshin to him. And as long as I'm dedicating, I think I'll dedicate it to my sister Mary's 2 friends who have similar problems with cancer, Bill and Stephanie. So anyway, that's my purpose. So what we talked about in the sesshin was this teaching of the Buddha called, as I talked about this last week, called the 8 truths of a great human being. And in this branch of Buddhism, we believe that this was a teaching he gave on the night that he died, and it's in a sutra called the Bequeathed Teaching Sutra. And so so he said these are the qualities you should have if you are, or the truths you should have if you are a great human being, or maybe an arhat. That's when he was teaching, that was the goal, to become an arhat, to become a totally enlightened person. And he had, this is a teaching he gave to the people who were in his sangha, the group that followed him around. Anyway, here are the teachings. Having small desires, knowing satisfaction, enjoying tranquility, practicing diligence, keeping right mindfulness, practicing the balanced state of jhana, which is it's a word that Chan in Chinese and comes from, and Zen comes from Chan. So it means, samadhi. It means meditation. Then practicing wisdom. And then the last one that we just talked about yesterday is avoiding idle discussion. But I'd like to add one more. I found a different, in the old Pali teachings, that Pali was a language that the Buddha spoke in. and and then for hundreds of years, his followers or the generations of people of Buddhists remembered these teachings, and you know, and finally, hundreds of years later, wrote them down into what we call the Pali Canon. Anyway, I found a teaching there that had a different eighth quality of a great person, and that was, and it was actually one of Buddha's followers came up with the first seven in this teaching, and the Buddha came up with the eighth, and his was non-proliferation. And Koshu, it's pancha. Oh, no, nipi pancha. I think that means non. Pancha is proliferation, and proliferation I had to consult with Google on the meaning of it, and it involves mental activity that centers around yourself. It's and I will tell I'm guilty of having such activity this morning when I was beating myself up for giving the wrong instructions to my friend Vicky, and I should have just told her to come. But anyway, you can have a long internal discussion about that, and that's what I engaged in for a while this morning, and then I'll tell you one thing from the Sesshin. The thing I remember most is there was a Zen teacher named Misha Merrill here, and maybe I'm sure many of you know her, but not Anyway, she told a story in one of these gatherings after that we were talking about these qualities. She told the story of a Zen monk from Japan who visited her, visited actually a temple she was at, and he gave this instruction. He says, she demonstrates with her arm. She says, "This is your breath, and this is your thoughts over here or over here." The thoughts. And I think maybe this is when you start falling asleep and dreaming, and then there's your breath again, concentrating on your breath, and there's your thoughts. So yeah, I don't know. That was something that if you next time you sit, you might think of that. It's helped me a lot. Anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, the thing, I've got a book that just came out last year. It's called The Roots of Goodness. It's it's translated by Tom Wright, who's a follower of this guy, Kosho Uchiyama Roshi. He's a Japanese monk. Well, he died, I think, in the 90s. Anyway, these were talks in Japanese that he gave a long time ago, and Tom Wright just translated them. And he talks at one point about the similarity between these 8 truths of a great person. Or he also says in Japanese it's Hachi Dainin Gaku. That's 8 truths of a great person. But Dainin is a great person, and it also means a true adult. So in other words, that's a good way to think of it, because a great person is maybe up there above the rest of us. But a true adult is what we all, I hope we all want to be. And so so that's what he talked about. But he said, in a word, what Dainin awaken are also the 8 qualities or attributes. And this fundamental practice of the Bodhisattvas is, okay, so what he's doing is he's talking about the 8 qualities of a great person. And then he's saying they're almost the same thing as what we call the six perceptions or the six paramitas. Is anybody familiar with that? Okay, so the uh, eight truths of a great person, true adult. They came out of the early teachings of Buddhism, the remembered teachings of the Buddha, and what I've read is that they were, remembered for generations, and then finally written down about between 100 BC and 30 BC, and this was, the Buddha died in what I've seen is either 483 BC or 400 BC. So these were the what do you call it? The oral tradition for hundreds of years. And so this is the ideal model of a person in those days was an arhat or arahant. Is someone who practices these meditation techniques and attains enlightenment. And then in around the 1st century AD, correct me if I'm wrong, all you people who know more than I do, but in about the 1st century BC, there was like a revolution in Buddhist thought, and it's called the Mahayana. And the idea of the Mahayana is that the ideal person is not an arahant or arhat, it's a bodhisattva. Does anybody not know what a bodhisattva is? Yeah, okay. In Chinese, it's, I think, Busan, Busa. Is that familiar? Okay, then my Chinese is excellent. No? But, so a bodhisattva is someone who has made a vow to save all beings. So you're not just saving yourself trying to become enlightened. You promise to enlighten all the world before you enter nirvana. So that's so it was in those days. So the very beginning of the Mahayana was there, in the early years of the Christian era. I guess I don't know why we call it the Christian era, because we're Buddhists, but and so these are similar, quite similar, and he says they're really the same thing, but not quite. The first one is dana paramita, and that's generosity. Now these are Pali words, I think, not Sanskrit. Maybe they're Sanskrit. The other language back when the Buddha was in the world. Dana paramita was generosity. Unconditional giving is what Uchiyama calls it. And then the second one is sila paramita, and he calls it maintaining the precepts. It's also, I've seen it translated as discipline. So you're sticking to your practice, but it's also you're sticking to the precepts. The precepts is they call them the bodhisattva precepts, and I am afraid I can't list. There's 10 of them. First 5: don't kill, don't steal, don't misuse sexuality, don't lie, and don't intoxicate yourself or others. So those are the first 5, and I think those were all in those early years with the Buddha. But then there's another 5, and that's where I break down. It's now let's see. Don't praise yourself and deprecate others, which is a good one. And that's sometimes hard to resist. But then there's when you, let's see, don't, these aren't necessarily in order, don't harbor ill will is one of them. There's don't disparage the triple treasures. That's the triple treasures are Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Sangha is the group of um, Buddhists. And let's see, anybody help me with the other two? Well, don't be greedy. Yeah, don't. Yeah, and yeah, that's like I was doing this morning. I should have thought of my precepts. uh, anyway, it's so. And he writes that having few desires and knowing one has enough, it makes it easier to be generous. Because if you're not all about getting more for yourself, and you're satisfied with what you have, you're in a better shape to be generous to others. But I think the dana paramita is generosity itself. So it seems to me that that's more in line with the bodhisattva way. And sila paramita, well, they don't have that maintaining the precepts, and that's a good one. And it's also bodhisattva practice. All those last five precepts are sort of about kindness and helping others, not disparaging others. Let's see, and then did I list all these? No, I don't know if I did. Did I list the paramitas? Okay, so it's dana, giving, sila, maintaining the precepts, shanti, K-S-A-N-T-I, is patience. That's another one that's not in the 8 truths of a true adult. Shanti is also, I think, if you're patient, it's easier to be caring and you're patient with children. You don't yell fast anyway, until they really need it. But yeah, just patience. And then the last 3 are all in the 8 the 8 truths. Number 4 is virya paramita, or diligence, persistence, and that's number 4 in the 8 truths. Then the next one is jhana paramita, like I said, that's meditation or concentrated sitting, zazen, is what he says. And then the last one is prajna paramita, and prajna is wisdom. And the chant we chanted this morning, the Prajna Paramita Sutra, is that's what it's about, wisdom, and it's also the result of the literature that sort of launched the Mahayana is called, and correct me, it's the Prajna Paramita literature. Is that right? Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of, this was a short version, but there's a lot of longer sutras in the Prajna Paramita literature. And so that's what we chanted, the sort of abbreviation of all of that. And that's, from that teaching came these 6 paramitas. And I don't know what else to say. I like the, I really like patience. It gives you, we were talking during the session when we had our discussions. Well, and I think Nenzin was saying that, it's good to it's good to pause. If you're discussing in a group, it's really good to pause, before blurting out what you want to say, and so that. I think that's practicing patience, and I think the fact that Kashanti, patience, comes before virya, uh, diligence, persistence. Um, it sort of it doesn't let you off the hook. You can be patient, but sooner or later, you got to take action. So I like that, and I don't know what else. Yeah, it's nice to have vows to follow, the sila paramita. And Dana can't beat generosity. So I think that's all I got to say, unless somebody wants to add something or correct something that I misstated. Tolerance, that's right. Yeah, let me look if he says that. I think he just, uh-oh. Uh, yeah, right. Yeah. Well, what that reminds me of is something that Tetsuo said um, during the sesshin in one of these discussions. He had been reading a book, not sure what it was about things medical, I guess. When you and he was talking about his last year or someone's. uh, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's really good. Well, so what you said was that he wrote that when you're when you feel pain, it's it's um, don't think of it as your pain. Think of it as the pain. And so, and that to me, that's tolerance. Yeah. So I really like that. That and this are the two things that I bring from the session. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Jackie. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Yeah. 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 It does. Yes. Anybody else? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Is that true? Uh, yeah. 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 He can be a little earthy. The book is called The Roots of Goodness, and it's yeah, it's Uchiyama Roshi's commentaries, and I think he, you know, like I said, I think he died in the 90s, but this was one of his main students who translated, just got around to translating it to English, and it was yeah, a lot of people like this book, a lot, including Ocean.
Tom,
Yeah.
could you repeat the questions from the
Oh,
room
I'm
for us
sorry.
on?
Oh, I'm okay.
Thank
So
you.
so um, Nenzan said was the first question, and she said, uh, uh, "What's no?" It was the tolerance question, right? Yeah, that sometimes the third paramita, uh, um, kashanti, you know, which I translated as patience. Sometimes it's also translated as tolerance, and that's um, so that's she said, what did I think of that? And then I remembered what what um, Chris had said uh, during one of our sessions, that um, he that he had read in the book, that you should um, you should um, you shouldn't think of, you know, as people suffering from illness or pain. You shouldn't think of pain as your pain. You should think of it as pain, the pain. And that has actually been helpful to me sitting, because I think um, the knees are kind of hurting right now. but, but not my knees. And what else? And then you asked, oh no, Jackie. Oh, what was your question? Right. Yeah. Yeah. For Vicky, I keep being guilty about my friend. For for Jackie, uh, tolerance has sort of a negative connotation, um, in um, in that you're putting up with somebody, but you're not liking it, but you're tolerating it. So, but I think the Pamela's understanding was more positive, if I am not wrong. Deep tolerance. No, the tolerance. There you go. That's what I'm going to use. Anyway, and you, what's your name? Ben. So Ben uh, has been telling his wife about. Are you his wife? Okay. Okay. Good to have you both. Um, Ben has been telling his wife all about the thrill of sitting practice, and and uh, and yeah, that's right, right. In this book that I was talking about, the roots of goodness, I had forgotten this, but Uchiyama at the end uh, likens what the thrill of zazen into to the thrill of going to the bathroom. You have to experience it yourself. So good stuff. Anybody else? Yeah. Well, that's what. Oh, what do you mean by your pain versus the pain? So, yeah, I mean, uh, maybe Chris can help me, but it's uh, it. I guess it depersonalizes, and you don't feel so bad about, oh, woe is me, I'm really suffering. That's sort of more pain added on to the actual pain. And so, if you just think it as the pain, you subtract all that drama um, of, of your own suffering. So I like that. Oh yeah, yeah, Michael. Uh huh. Right. Yeah. Well, I guess in the stuff I was reading in the. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Would you keep reminding me? Uh, um, so, uh, Michael Schnee's question was, uh, um, when I'm talking about Buddha entering nirvana, what does that mean? Is that okay? Uh, so yeah, that's good enough, he says. Yeah, you are. Thank you for that, sir. He said he's being tolerant, and so um, what does it mean? Yeah, that's. I'm not sure. Sometimes they talk about it as Buddha's death, and it's not clear to me. I think in these Pali scriptures, um, well, one of his followers. We talked about entering nirvana while he was still alive, so it's it it. I guess there's levels of nirvana, and as we talk about Buddha entering parinirvana, which is a final nirvana. So he's already done everything in his life, in his many lives that we believe or that Buddhists believe people to have. The one life followed by another, and that he didn't have to be reborn again. And so that's what the yeah that's what they say. And I don't know. Sometimes I just talk about Buddha's death. And so, yeah, and I don't, I'm not a Buddhist scholar, and haven't read enough, but I think um, in the Mahayana teachings, um, Buddha uh, seemed to come back for a lot of things that, um, the Tetsuo taught a sutra called the Vimalakirti Sutra, in which Buddha was, the leader of this group, and I think that happened after his parinirvana. I'm not sure, but yeah. What were you going to say, Michael? Right, right, yeah. What was I going to say about that? Okay, he says uh, in Zen we don't talk much about reincarnation, and maybe reincarnation just means, and correct me if I'm wrong, just means you're enlightened and you don't come back. Or you, well, you probably don't come back beforehand. I don't know if I got you right. Yeah, yeah, mm, right, 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 right. Yeah. Well, that's true, and but I do, you know, when my mom died a few years ago, um, Mike did um, a, a, a what a 49-day ceremony, you know, a memorial ceremony for us, and I think those 49 days were the when uh, oh I'm sorry, what was that? We're good, okay. Uh, um, the, the 49 days was believed to be the time you spend in the bardo state that and then are reborn. I don't know if I say that correctly, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if my mom is some you know, let's see, it would be some 5-year-old somewhere, but well, she's a pretty nice 5-year-old, I'll tell you. But anyway, yeah, so I don't know. That could be a vestige of the old, you know, the other Buddhist forms, but it seems like a little nod to the possibility of reincarnation. And I certainly appreciated that ceremony. My brothers and sisters, 5 brothers and sisters, all tuned in, and they all appreciate it. So, right. During your life. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. 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 Mm-hmm. Yeah. No kidding. uh, yeah. Oh yeah, Koshu. Huh. Uh-huh. Okay. Let's. So Koshu said that Nenzin, what Nenzin said about extinguishing uh, um, passions or extinguishing behaviors, Koshu heard it as has heard a similar uh, expression of of cooling of heated passions or heat. Yeah, yeah, and so it's much the same. And what else did you say? Yeah, coming to a place of non-preference. Yeah, so yeah, that's good. And then you know that reminds me of the, you know, that's something else we could have chanted today. There's a sutra called Shin Shing Ming, and it's very I don't know what that means. Shin Shin Ming, uh, faith in mind. Yeah, yeah. So there's the Shin Shin Ming talks about having no preferences. You know, don't be against, don't be for. Yeah.
Teaching Apustu says, I asked about the Parinirvana of the Buddha for my first master.
Uh-huh.
So the teaching I got was about the Trikaya, about the three bodies.
Right.
Kind of a body and a chief body and an actual body.
Yeah.
It's like three, like Buddha's like a 3-in-1 package deal.
Huh. Like the Holy Trinity.
Something dies.
Uh-huh.
Something
Ah.
something that's always else. Thinking of this thing is it's like there's a dude that died. Obviously there's a person quiet.
Right.
But then there's also lifetime of achievement manifestation.
Uh-huh.
But then there's also all of us, our awakened nature, also realized.
Through him. Yeah.
It's like a kind of triple nature of this.
Wow.
Very, very interesting. Sambhogakaya, the Nirmanakaya, and
Dharmakaya, yeah.
Forget the two.
Yeah.
There you go. So
Yeah.
and I asked my first master about this kind of complicated follow-up question about having three natures.
Right.
And what he thought about both rebirth and
Right.
I said, I have no idea. It's such a funny question to ask. And I thought, well, aren't you the Zen master?
Yeah.
Yes, but I'm an alive Zen master. So it's this kind of Zen approach to take stuff in. It's like, yeah, death is good and all. I'm just not experiencing death right now.
Yeah.
It's not my, it's not really what fun of me.
Yeah.
So I'm just,
Yeah.
so maybe to get caught up on this higher business, what remains and what continues and all that stuff. Sometimes it's really distracting from.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I guess I don't have to repeat your question.
Did you know? No?
Anybody else? Oh yeah. Anybody online have a question? Well, thank you for watching and listening. And it's a really great group here, and it's a great group online. So thanks for participating. You know, Karen and Tyson, I'll see you too soon, and Tom. I hope next month. Bye. Sir, thank you. Your teaching, your suggestions were really well worked out in this session. I'm so grateful. It's the guy that came up with the plan. So, anybody else? Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, right. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, uh-huh, yeah. Like they said, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. She said her question was uh, the patience and tolerance and being a true adult all require a capacity. So a capacity for patience, a capacity for tolerance, a capacity for doing all the things a true adult would do. And how do I have any recommendations for how to practice to uh, um, to get there? And I sort of ducked the question, and and I just said to get to Carnegie Hall, you got to practice, practice, practice. So, well, maybe that was an answer, huh? Okay, okay. My boss says it was an answer. Yeah, and yeah, and soon we'll be able to have some tea and cookies. Yeah, yeah, our intention, we extend bearing in place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to